Morning, good morning. It's time to start the day. So it is Tuesday. It's 10 o'clock and I'm down near Plymouth. But I thought I'd make a video to help out some of the new guys out there and some of the guys that have just bought vans and might need a bit of help. So, weights. How much does your van weigh? How much can it weigh? What's your train weight? Front axle, rear axle? Let's find out. So let's use my van as an example. This is a 2018 Volkswagen Crafter, long wheelbase. It's a 3.5 ton van, and I know that because it's plated at 3.5 ton, and I'll show you where to look for your plates. So follow me outside for just 2 seconds. This is the inside of my van. As you can see, it's a bit mucky at the minute, unfortunately, because I've just been on a dirty site. But if you look here, there your weights. So the top one is your gross vehicle weight. The second one is your train weight if you tow a trailer. Number 1 is your front axle, and number 2 is your rear axle. What do they mean? So obviously, the first one says 3,500 kilograms, 3.5 ton, which is the maximum gross weight of this van. The second one says 5.5 ton, which is the maximum gross train weight of this van and a trailer. This van being the lower powered van, it's only 102 psi. This van can only tow a trailer up to 2.5 ton, not a 3.5 ton trailer like the top end models can. Therefore, my train weight is lower than the top end models. Number 1 is my front axle, and number 2 is my rear axle. So obviously, when you're loading, you need to split the weight between your axles to make sure your van isn't overloaded on one or the other axle. Because even if you're picking up a weight that your van can take, if you put it all on the front end, your front axle will be overweight and you can still get done for that. So if you look online at the manufacturer's details for this vehicle, it will show that it has a payload of 1,395 kilos, but it doesn't, because that does not include you, fluids, and anything that is in your vehicle with you. So I've had this van weighed on a weighbridge with me, a passenger in it, all my gear in it that I need, all my straps and everything like that, and I can carry 1,100 kilos, just over, but I stick to 1,100. I tend to stick to a ton. That's the maximum gross weight I can carry. Now, there is companies out there that think their vehicles can carry 1,500 kilos. I used to work for one. Vans got pulled all the time for being overweight, and the boss still didn't listen. Your van can only carry as much as the maximum gross weight. So it can't carry 3.5 ton, but it can only weigh the maximum gross weight. So if you get it weighed and you can only carry 1,100 kilos, only carry 1,100 kilos. So if you go over, you risk getting fined, getting points on your license and stuff like that. You do not want to be overweight if you're being a courier, because it's your life. It's your life. Like, this is how you make your money. Like, the last thing you need to do is get fined, lose money for being overweight for any reason, and yeah, you don't want to do it. So what's it mean by front axle and rear axle? Obviously, you've got 2 axles in your van, front and rear. It differs depending on if you have a front wheel drive van or a rear wheel drive van, where your load should be on the vehicle. So I have a front wheel drive van, so my engine and gearbox is at the front, so the majority of the weight of this vehicle is at the front of the van. The back end just has a solid axle with my wheels on it, and it just roll along. So that's why my back axle is rated higher than my front axle, because my front axle already has the majority of the weight on it, so I can carry more weight on my rear axle. That doesn't really make sense, but I can carry, yeah. So most of the weight I can carry on this vehicle would be towards the rear of the van to equal it out. If I put, say, an 800 kilo pallet through the side door of the van, this front axle would be overweight. Whereas if I put it through the back end of the van and pushed it into the middle of the van in front of the axle, the van would be fine. With the stuff that I do, I tend to be able to, it's all boxes and stuff like that, and I can spread it out across the van and make it quite even. But that brings me on to another subject. If you're picking up one pallet that weighs a ton and your van can carry it a ton, there's not really anywhere on that van you can put that one pallet which would not overload one of those axles, because your vehicle weight 3.5 ton, and it's all the weight is going to be in one pallet space in a 4-meter vehicle. It doesn't work, because if you put it through the side door, your front axle is going to be overweight. If you put it through the back door, even if you push it up on the front of the axle, like, your rear axle's still going to be pushing it. So you've got to be very careful on what you do load. Sorry, I'm talking that fast, I'm losing my breath, I'm not breathing properly. So I lost my train of thought now. Pardon me. So yeah, you need to take into account when buying a van, obviously it's maximum gross weight, because if you buy a small van, it can be under 3 ton, under 2.5 ton. You need to figure out how much that van weighs with you and all your kit in it, so you find out how much you can actually carry on board your vehicle, and then you need to figure out where the majority of your weight is already in the vehicle, where the engine is, where the drivetrain is, and then you need to be able to spread the weight across the vehicle to make sure both axles stay underweight and don't go over. Like I said, if you get pulled over and your back end's on the floor, you're gonna get a fine. There's a possibility of points. When I worked at the previous company, that, like I said, they used to send vehicles out, send sprinters out carrying 1,500 kilos because they believed that's what they could carry. And I had to go and meet a driver once because he'd been pulled over by the police. Luckily enough, it was the first offence. He was actually in a crafter, and he was 600 kilos overweight, carrying 1,500 kilos with him and all his gear in the van. He had a lot of crap with him, basically. So I had to go and pick up 600 kilos off him. If you do need to know your vehicle weight, there will be a plate somewhere on your vehicle. It's normally in the driver or passenger's door, and that will tell you the maximum gross weight of the vehicle, axle weights and train weight if you can tell. So thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye bye.